tends not to curve the ball. And from this angle, I would think his target's more like the edge of the bunker rather than the edge of the tower, trying to get it just a little bit closer. And that was very well done. And what Justin Rose has done by taking driver over the bunker is he puts a sand wedge in his hand, and unless there's water or some other golf death around the hole with sandwich in the hand, they're going right at it.
110 flag on.
There is only one target to talk about when you're inside 100 yards on the PGA Tour.
Not a whole bunch of players have gone through the 10th so far. This is some 25 yards longer than the longest drive to this point. It's aggressive play. See if you can pay it off. Doesn't love it.
Stood up on it a little bit and blocked it outside of everybody.
Big tee shot. He is not going to love that one at all. So 3 birdie putts upcoming here at the 10th, all from at range where you would love to make it, but 2 putts fine. And our question of the day here on PGA Tour Live, you should jump on Twitter. That's a website, and check out this. Bay Hill Club and Lodge is just minutes away from some of the best theme parks in the world. What is your favorite Orlando theme park and resort? Mine is driving on the interstate, because that normally takes about as long as some of the lines to get in a lot of those rides.
The International Drive during PGA during the PGA shows is the same way. See, my answer varies depending on who I'm with. You know, when the kids were young, I would like to have, you know, gone to all the kid places, Magic Kingdom and all that. But if you and I are going and hanging out,
I know where we're going.
Catching some live music and going to the House of Blues or Downtown Disney or one of those places. There's something for everybody.
Jump on Twitter, answer that for us. Some of your best answers will make it on the show. Even if you have a bad answer, it might make the show. You never know. Look at our second featured group getting set to roll here at the 10th. Ricky, Jason, and Ian.
And Shane, this group's got about 5 miles an hour more wind to deal with than the first group. It kicked up right as the first group was walking off the tee.
Did you have anything to do with that, Robert?
Yes. When I played, the wind usually kicked up right into my face. So, you know, the golf gods don't know that I don't have my clubs with me. They just recognize me on the tee, and the wind starts kicking up into the face. It's still a scoreable wind, John. It's just the air's so heavy that, you know, a 10-mile-an-hour wind plays like 20.
Are you doing lunges with Ian Poulter as well? We can't see you.
Well, we had the old Jane Fonda workout tape in the scoring tent before, so he's just continuing that along.
If he pulls a jump rope out, we might have to DQ him.
I would have thought they would have gone with Richard Simmons, but Jane Fonda works as well.
Well, he had the pink leggings on, like the old Jane Fonda, but he took those off.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, why stay right here while these guys get set to go, and Ricky removes a layer.
Did you happen to catch which car Ian drove into the parking lot today?
You know, I didn't. I gladly didn't, because every time I see the car he brings in, it fills me with jealousy and rage.
This is the 7:54 tee time. From Loretta, California, welcome Ricky Fowler.
I'm willing to bet it was some kind of Ferrari, though, John.
I was just wondering if he matched it to his outfit.
If anyone was going to do that, he's the guy.
Now, this guy just looks cool driving anything. But he doesn't drive just anything. You can see what he drives on his left shoulder there.
That typically means he didn't pay for it either. Oh, this left off the bat. Look out left rough. Maybe trees.
From Brisbane, Australia, a former winner of the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. Welcome, Jason Day.
See there, won in 2016. Get his 9th start around Bay Hill.
I watched Jason hit about 15 balls in the range with a longish iron, 4 or 5 iron, and every shot looked exactly like the last. He looked like he was swinging great. As you know, though, on the range doesn't always transfer to the course.
I'm trying to figure out where he might hit a 4-iron on this golf course.
12 is downwindish. And he's got this going a little left, too.
Third to
Bunker.
play from Woburn, England. Welcome.
All right. I'll turn down this volume. Try to hit this good for those in here for a nice Thursday morning, nice and cold. Late night last night building lineups. Let's hop right into it. Again, Red Kachik, not a lot in here. That's fine. It's like what, 5, 6, 5 in the morning on the West Coast. Not good. So quickly wanted to hit on a couple of the strong ownerships that we saw throughout the top end range and the bottom end. I won't hit on a lot of the low end, but there was a couple interesting tidbits on the FanDuel side, separate from the DK side. So we'll kind of hit on all those. And we'll watch some golf. You see that up in the top left corner. And we'll get you guys out of here and watch some PGA Tour coverage. BA Dat Life, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate that. All right, so starting off in the top range, looking at these guys up here. Pretty much across the board, Rory was very popular. I think that was fairly obvious. The guys below him got a bit interesting. So we'll look at that in the 1500s specifically, but 24%, 32% between the $5 and 1500 and for Rory, and then these guys in the mid range really, were dead. As far as Ricky Fowler and Brooks, I didn't think would get much ownership. Brooks actually got more ownership than Justin Rose in the 1500, which is kind of interesting. Maybe due to lineup construction saving $500. It's tough to tell. Jason Day didn't get a ton from the big guys up in the 1500, and then looking down at Bryson, 27% was, so it looks like maybe Rory, Bryson were the majority of where lineups started, or even had multiple together. We'll look at Wallace here in a second. There's a couple, man, like talking about Sung JM. That was another one from last night we talked on, and then I think there were some in the mid range that were a lot higher than I thought would be. And we'll see how that kind of turns out. Again, with the pricing the way it was, the 9K range was extremely difficult to pinpoint who you wanted to play. So I actually built several lineups and made sure I had a piece of each of these guys, except Phil. Actually, I didn't play any Phil. But I did have a piece of Day starting off at the top. I think I had a lineup. I'm trying to think. I might have had a lineup with both Day and DeChambeau to start. And then I hung out in the 7K range for that one. And I like that build quite a bit. But there's the other ones I threw in a 1 GPP with Leishman, Hideki, Fleetwood, Molinari. I think I stacked those 3 in 1, which was a pretty interesting build for the savings you get off of the 10-7 guys, stuff like that. Yeah, ton of Fleet and Molinari being paired up is it felt like a really good starting point. I felt like the drop-off between Fleetwood and Molinari down into that 8K range. Granted, these are good players for sure. Reed and Horschel. I think Horschel, I honestly thought he'd be more popular as much as I heard people talk about. It's nice to see a 1% Billy Horschel in the 1500, and he's only 5% in the $5. And, you look at Fleetwood and Molinari, it's definitely a class above, maybe half a class above Reed and Horschel. Even with Reed's Masters win, I still consider Fleetwood a much better player and Molinari a better player. But yeah, I think Fleetwood and Molinari starting off, you save $1,000 on both of those off of a 10K guy. Just for example, my Jason Day, Bryson DeChambeau lineup, you saved, $1,600, something like that, or $1,500. So, I like that move quite a bit. Going down into the 8K range, it was, I don't see much. Hal got a little bit of love, 14% in the $5, 10% in the 1,500. Not significant, but definitely higher than the rest in that range. Keegan's the one I want to talk about as far as FanDuel goes. He, the way his pricing was over there, you can see he was at 10.5% in the $5, 3% in the 1,500, and he was kind of mixed in, 8, 9% in the 44 and the 444. But on FanDuel, and he was like 25 to 28% between GPPs. And I think it was strictly price. I think Keegan was a good play. His ball striking stats have been really solid. But at 8,400 in this field with the guys, like you talked about, Molinari and Fleetwood just above him, 500, 600, 700 more. It's hard to play a Keegan, especially if you're starting with a Rose or McIlroy lineup dropping down to a Jason Day or a Bryson lineup. You just kind of skip over the whole 8K range, which is why you see not a lot of guys in the 1,500 that built handmade lineups. They didn't play these guys. But I did find it interesting when looking through lineups this morning. Keegan was like 28% in the $33 on FanDuel. Is pretty nuts. One and done, I'd have to go double check. Did it real late last night. I want to say I went Molinari, to be honest. So I think I'm with you. I wanted to play Jason Day, but I had already used him somewhere. I don't know where. So yeah, Molinari was my one and done play. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. I think I actually tried to I used Day, and I was like, that's fine. I'll use DeChambeau, and I had used him somewhere. I'm not really sure what's going on. Oh well. So looking down below that, the mid range here was completely dead for the 8K range. We'll talk on Kokrak and Glover for a minute. Glover was definitely my preferred play in that range between those two. If you had to land on one of those guys, I felt like Glover has been more consistent. And actually, Datagoff tweeted out something earlier this week as far as him being not just consistent. People that play DFS, they're very, 1 week minded. Did he play well last week? Did he play well the week before? They really focus on that. But even with a missed cut at the desert or wherever he missed a cut earlier this year, prior to that, through the fall and like the summer last year, he's been playing really solid. So longer term form and short term form. Wow. I definitely preferred Glover. I'm gonna have a swig of coffee. So it seems like they weren't preferred in the $1,500 builds, but certainly in the 5 and 44, he was double of what Kokrak was. So I like to see that. Henrik I played. We'll see. It was more of the lineups I build where I expect them to lose. So I certainly didn't put him in any of my high dollar stuff. I didn't put him in any of my 3 max high dollar stuff. He was just in a couple. I think I had him the $5 with the $44 Club Twirl as a kicker. And I think I paired him with, I honestly paired him with someone deep, like someone down low that probably has just as good a chance as doing well or missing the cut as Stenson does right now. It's still somewhat of a question mark, but I couldn't go a week with Henrik Stenson at Bay Hill and not playing him. Torrey on Dave, it's probably what I did too. I can probably look it up. I need to actually confirm. What's up, Trey? Thanks for joining, man. Yeah, I don't keep track of my one and dones. I just view it week to week, and I honestly thought I took a slower roll as far as Day and DeChambeau, but apparently not. I messed up somewhere. But plenty of good guys to play. I haven't played DJ or Rory yet. Going down from Stenson. So Stenson was really interesting. $1,500, 10% of guys played him. So that's at least there wasn't enough red flags for them to be like a JV Holmes 0%. Thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, Bubba Watson. And then we get into a interesting area. I really don't know why. I felt like his price was a little bit high. Ian Poulter, 8K, coming in at 31% in the PGA, or in the Drive the Green, and the $1,500 GPP, 35%. So he was 30% across all contests. I did like Ian Poulter. I think, from what I heard, people were talking about his home course advantage at Bay Hill, and honestly, man, he grew up, or he didn't grow up. He has been playing at Lake Nona the past couple years. He may go over there every now and then, but he's in Orlando. Doesn't mean you play all the courses in Orlando all the time. AK felt a little steep for me. I did have a piece, but not a ton. Any Usti? No, I didn't play any Usti, so 0%. And I heard some people chatter on him, but yeah, I just no withdrawal concerns either. I just didn't feel like playing Oosthuizen. He was not in any of my builds. More in BW Robs. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this will be a short one, so enjoy the golf. I'm not even actually, it's on the screen for y'all, but I'm not actually seeing it. Poulter up there, great. And Ricky, I think, duck hooked one off the tee on 10, his first hole, so good start for him. So, yeah, Ian Poulter, I'm really, really surprised at 35%. So I think that just, like we talk about each week on, the podcast, the live streams, and this one now, lineup construction, when you look at the $1,500, because those guys, assumingly, are building them by hand. They should be. It'd be mind-boggling to me if somehow they're just like, yeah, whatever the optimal is, I'll play it. But you can see where the chunks, so I'll scroll back up real quick, but you can see where Rory comes in at 32%. Bryson has a big chunk, and then there's really not a ton, just sprinkles until you get to Ian. So I'm thinking those are kind of the three main starting points for most guys. I'd probably say 2 out of 3. I'd probably say 2 out of 3 of those guys, every guy probably had a piece of. Alrighty. What's Jason Day? Putting for par, that's not good. That's not good. Alright. Yeah. I'm watching intently. It's like the nice thing about PGA Tour Live is being able to watch them from kind of start to finish. And they basically don't take the cameras off them. They're not always commentating, but they're at least like got the cameras on them. But man, what a terrible way to start your Thursday. If he misses this putt, goes to 11, goes to 12, man. Man. Did you play a lot of Usti, Jamie? Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Was it a $33 single entry, that new one they're making? He might be lower owned in that. Yeah, he's probably lower owned in that. It's actually, anytime you talk about ownership, it's always like you could say it's a good leverage spot. He's a good player. I just didn't fire on him. Personal thing. I wouldn't argue anyone off of him. So you're fine. Luke List. I did actually have one lineup with Luke List. I think he was in my Stenson lineup. One of those where it's like he could boom or bust for sure. Ian Poulter missed a par putt too. This is great. Great morning. Terrific. Yeah, 7.9. I think I have this whole grouping except for Fowler. And we got Stenson here. I'm watching intently. He could just ruin this whole slate if he runs away with it somehow. Not good. Not good. He's just been putting bad, dude. All right, so Day, Poulter, Post, Koepka, RCB, and Olsen. Yeah. It'd be very interesting with the Poulter start now. 30% owned. I'm not gonna hex him off the bat, but obviously not a good start. So all right, let's continue down the 7K train. looking at some guys. So, you know, Siwoo got a little bit in the $5. That's a little bit surprising. Adam Hadwin, Zach Johnson, those were two that I heard chatter on. Adam Hadwin. I actually played Zach Johnson, 7,700. He's been putting bad, but he's been putting like sporadic. He'll have good rounds on Bermuda this week, so I figured he would play a little bit better. I would putt a little bit better, so I took a stab on Zach Johnson. I felt like he was at a decent price there. Welcome, man. Yeah, this is the short stream. We always just try to, what we're trying to do on the East Coast at least, and it kind of sucks because now the West Coast it's 5 a.m. So they'll have to watch this on replay. But for the East Coast, I figured we'd get up early, watch some PGA Tour live, and talk through some ownerships and really some difference in lineup construction. So going down the list, I won't touch on any of these guys. I didn't play Cameron Champ. Michael Thompson's still getting some love in the $5. You know, hopefully, if you guys played him, hopefully he plays well. But I think maybe people are just playing him off of recent finishes and recent stats. I did not play any Michael Thompson. Trey, I'm going to go to work. But right now, this is more important. All right, we get a late ad Bud Cauley, 3% in the 5, 3% in the 1,500. So I don't know what is that? 300 lineups in the $5 and 3 lineups in the 1,500. I did play Bud Cauley in an entry in the $44 Club Twirl with a $5. The $5 structure is awful, by the way, but I feel like at this point, if you're gonna throw in something in a $44 entry in a $44 tournament, like just plug in $5, and if you hit the nuts, you win $150. Oh boy. It's a lottery ticket, exactly. What's Jamie doing? He's trying to break the bot. Using symbols. Ben On. Love Ben On quite a bit, and this is another good point to point out. Terrible early in the morning. I'm going to take another swig of coffee before we dive into Ben On. Sungjae, yeah, Sungjae did come in nice. The bot's sensitive. It's a very sensitive thing. I really haven't figured it out, to be honest. All right, Jason Day's in play. That's a good thing. All right, so Ben On. Looking at Ben On, like his last 3 events, I think, in the States, he played a little bit overseas early on this year. Stats looked really good for PGA Tour stats. And I think he was losing like 5 or 6 shots a tournament putting. Obviously there's a fine line between like a guy that's a bad putter, but you're not going to be losing 5 shots putting in a tournament. Like, so I think that's where you see this discrepancy with 10% Ben On in the $5, and you see a 33% clip at the $1,500, 22% in the $444. I mean, Ben On, like ball striking stats, you can rely on, and it's all a matter. He's played well here. He's from Orlando. I think he even said this is his home course. These guys are always traveling. Like home course doesn't mean that much to me, but yeah, 33%, a third of the guys in the 1,500 played Ben On versus only 10% in the $5. So you kind of keep that in mind with some of these. Maybe you were looking at Ben On, and for whatever reason you came off of him. Maybe stick to your first instincts. Is ball striking stats look good. He's played well here. I'm gonna play Ben On. Don't overthink it. So you could certainly, just if you're trying to play an ownership game, you look at the $10 or the 10% up to the 22 and the 444. Where do you draw a line with saying, hey, he's projected at 18%? Do I, play him at 18%, go up or go down? It varies depending on your contest. So keep that in mind as well. I think guys in the 1,500, they're fine taking the more reliable guy if he's going to be a third owned. There's only 100 entries in that one too, so just to make that a note. Is Henrik Stenson going to make a birdie? No. If Henrik Stenson can get through today around even, maybe 2-3 under, we'll be in really good shape. Really good shape. Did we ever figure out how injured JT was from last week? Any impacts going forward? No, we didn't hear anything. I'm sure something will go out, and nothing detailed, to be honest. Like injury reporting, like Jamie says, Vijay or Vlad there, they don't report injuries in golf. If anything, like he could have, a torn tendon or some type of tendonitis or just a sprain. And honestly, their rep or their publicist, whatever they use, is just going to say, he's just tired or something like that. Or he'll put tape on his wrist and say it's just a precautionary thing. They always use precautionary. That's always fun. So you won't hear any words on like, yeah, here's his MRI results and he's got a strain and is going to need surgery at the end of the year. You won't get any of that in golf, unfortunately. Tiger did that forever. I think if y'all remember the 2008 U.S. Open, he won against Rocco Mediate. And then like the Monday after, he got an x-ray. And they're like, yeah, you snapped your tibia or you fractured your tibia and you had another broken bone in your leg. That was bizarre too. So we won't go down that freaking history. Oh, dead arm in golf. You ever hit a thin shot in golf? It's kind of like the same thing. It's more like a stinger, but you could certainly mess up a nerve in your shoulder by hitting a tree. Yeah, the last approach from Stenson was pretty bad. I'll be honest. The one thing I wanted to say last night on the stream, because of how cold it was today, and then we're waking up this morning. I'm in Florida, and it's actually pretty cold. The worst part is warming up the first couple swings, just not like hitting one thin, because it stings. It definitely does. And I'm not trying to complain because I'm in Florida and it's only 50 degrees, but it's cold for Florida. That's pretty cold. All right, let's keep the train moving. We're at 8:20, and Justin Rose is through 2 holes. Congrats. Rafa Cabrera-Bello was certainly popular. I actually came off him a tad. And I don't remember if it was like $7,500 for him. I think is a good price. I saw he was going to get popular. I saw his results. I think his recent results or courses. It was either at Bay Hill or courses I comped to Bay Hill. His finishes were very sporadic, and like the majority were worse than 40th or something like that. So he has a little bit of upside, but honestly, I took the stand that said he has a better chance of finishing 40th and then potentially missing the cut. Obviously, he's got upside, but at 22% in the $5, I'm not going to compare myself to the 33% in the $1,500, but like say like a bigger GPP, like the $44, the $5, 22, 24% for him. I didn't see the reward for that risk, for that much ownership. Looking up at like Ben On, I could see, closer to, the heck did Ben On go? Yeah, like 16%. I'm fine being 20% or close to the field with that, but 24% for Rafa was a bit much. How Tong Lee I played. That's really interesting. You don't see that very much. He was lower in the $5. And then he was bumped in the 44, and then about 15, 14 in the 1,500, 444. So no real thought on him. I thought he was a good play for the price, and it seemed like a good pivot off of Cabrera-Bello. Is it? I just do it, man. It's I got to make this some type of like premium quality. I get you the footage before you can. I don't know. So going down the list, we'll look at Matt Every and Matt Wallace. I think Jamie mentioned Matt Wallace, how low his ownership was. And he played really well last week on the weekend at the Honda. So I played some Matt Wallace, 3%, 3% across the board. He's not as reliable as like a Ben On, so I wouldn't say I loved the play, but I definitely liked it. He was a big upside guy. No one's going to play him. Obviously, he's 3% owned. So I really liked Mr. Matt Wallace. Matt Every, I did not play. I did not play Matt Every at 7,400. It looks like the 1,500 agreed, which, in some aspects, as far as game theory in the 1,500, if you're playing that and you think guys aren't going to play Matt Every, there's no point in trying to go overweight and burn one of your 6 spots on a Matt Every play. So 4 guys in the 1,500 played him. If I were to know 4% were playing Matt Every, it would be I wouldn't feel inclined to play him. Kind of the same way if he was like 30%, I'd feel a little bit nervous. Maybe, maybe I'm missing something. I would probably fade that anyways, but yeah, 4%, you can see there's just not a lot there. So I wouldn't worry about that if you did or did not play Matt Every. It's still a big question mark for everybody. What's Ian Poulter doing over here? Good shot. Yeah. We'll take it. Yes, his course history. Yeah, his course history, obviously, with the 2 wins. He had 2 missed cuts the last couple of years, and his current form is much better. Strength of field in this one, I feel like, is much different than the Puerto Rico Open. All those. I wish I could do this all day, man. Yeah, I couldn't blame anyone for playing Matt Every, and honestly, you could make the argument that he, like, 9% ownership for a guy that's won this event twice is good leverage if you played him at 15-20% or something. I didn't feel like burning a spot with Matt Every. And again, like I said last night, Mayo mentioned, you could grab him for a first-round lead. You can grab him for an outright. Top 10s. We don't get each ways in the United States, but you could do like a top 5 or top 10. I don't mind that. So I'm not hating on a play for Matt Every. It just didn't seem like the right move for me. It didn't really fall into my lineup construction. I prefer Hao Tong at 74. This low end 73-72 was pretty much dead. It was dead for me. I don't think I played anyone in this range. I was tempted to play Ryan Moore, but I didn't play him. Brant Snedeker I mentioned on the pod and ended up not being able to put him into a lineup. And I don't know if he started off. I think he teed off, but I don't know where he's playing or where he's at right now. We do need something like this. Trust me, if like we could go through the ownership stuff and then I just pull up golf and we just, watch these. If they had like 3 featured groups or something, maybe we do it at the Masters. The Masters has I did this in high school and in college every single year for the Masters. The Masters has footage of the driving range, Amen Corner, 15-16, I think 15-16, 15-16, and then they have like 2 or 3 featured groups. So like literally you have like five screens to watch at the Masters if you're watching from home on the Masters.com TV, whatever. So I need to do that. Yeah, the Masters coverage is unreal. And it's all day. Like I would turn it on in the morning they'd get guys on the range, and I would be watching it basically through the whole day. They would always have coverage on. They may not be talking through everybody, but man, that was Masters coverage you can't beat. Yeah, take a sick day. You will not regret it. Maybe even Friday too. Just a whole sick week, to be honest. Because they actually have footage. Not to harp on the Masters too much, since we're trying to hit on the ownerships for this event, but the Masters I think has coverage maybe starting Tuesday with on the range stuff. So basically, you can watch guys practicing on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and then Thursday through Sunday on the tournament. The Masters plays were Kuchar. I took a stab on Hoffman, 100-1, I think, and then I think I have 2 more. I can't remember. Yeah, kids don't need to learn. They don't need teachers. Come on, Jason Day. All right, let's finish off this 7K range and we'll hop down the 6K range. The JT Poston, I played a little bit. I still liked his form. Not so much his form, but his ball striking stats look really consistent for a $7,100 guy. I don't think I touched Kisner. Jacob talked him up and other people talked him up, but I just couldn't see it. And I'm not a big Kevin Kisner homer. I like the dude, but in golf, not saying he's bad at golf, but there's only a few events that I prefer to play Kisner, and on this type of track, I just didn't see it. Even if his Bermuda splits look good, I look at a little bit more than that. So Poston I played. I took a Kyle Stanley share. I won't lie. I mentioned that on the podcast. I went ahead and just did it. I already counted the losses on that one. Thorbjorn, Aaron Wise, and Sung Jae. So these three here I kind of hung out with. I actually built one lineup with Matt Wallace, Thorbjorn, and Aaron Wise. And that allowed me to pay for 3 guys 9K and above. So it's a very stars and scrubs lineup, but I didn't have to creep into the to the 6K range. Besides, no, I didn't have to in that lineup. So yeah, those 3 there I like quite a bit. Yeah, it's Sungjae. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Sungjae plays. So 6% in the $5, 14% in the 1500. So it's nice to see that the big guys didn't give up on him quite yet. And then Aaron Wise, you like to see that 5% in the $5, a little bit of a bump in the 44, but 18% in the 1500. And then Thorbjorn just low owned across the board. So I played him in a few lineups. Some, hopefully he plays well. But yeah, Aaron Wise, that was a good call by Jacob. 18%. 18% of guys in the 1500 played him, which is a good sign. I kind of could see them, being in that 2 to 3% category, and just it seems like no one really cared. But a 5% to 18% is actually a pretty good difference. So yeah, Sungjae 6 and 14, another one like Aaron Wise. $1,500 guys liked him a bit more. Again, and it's out of 100 entries, so not a ton of entries, but from a percentage standpoint, guys I consider sharper than the general people playing the $5, just from a volume standpoint. So yeah, you like to see that. Orange Band's back. He's gonna get blocked. Harman. Brian Harman? Did you play him last week and he screwed you? Because I didn't play him. I don't even know what he finished last week. I think people did play him. All right, let me finish off this range real quick, and then I got to roll. Nate Lashley, 9% in the $5, 6% in the 1500. That's not always fun to see because I played Nate Lashley a very little bit, but I kind of felt like that would be swapped. So I really don't like to see the ratio when the $5 is higher owned than the $1,500. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, the $1,500 guys don't nail the perfect plays every single week, but you like to see like ownership condense on guys you played, and you feel a little bit better about it. Like, Ben On was 10% in the 5. If you were around 30% in the $5, that's pretty good leverage, and you're right with the field in the 1500. Just as like a metric. So below that, not a ton. Nate Lashley, that one bit. Shink, I think just off of recent form, got some in the 5, but the 1500 didn't see it. I'd like to see that. I didn't play Shink. I did play him last week, but didn't see it for this one. Pretty dead spot, man. They're, nothing. The pricing was soft enough. You didn't need to go down here. There's your Brian Harman, 0.8 and 1%. And then nobody. Let's see if anyone at the very low end got any ownership. Stuart Sink got a little bit. I can see that. Armour got a little. Don't hate it. Bronzen got a bit. Play a little bit of Bronzen. And then the PGA Tour Live is on a break. Look at Rafa. Wow. 3 under. And I just paused it, didn't I? Oh, it's ended. Perfect. Well, that goes to show, guys. Hopefully that helps a little bit as far as understanding the difference between ownerships in the $5 and $1,500. Maybe your lineups had guys higher or lower owned across different contests, and you can kind of see, hey, I was really high on Rafa, but got scared off the ownership, and now he's just killing it. Or Ben On was 33% versus 10% in the $5 is a pretty big stand there. So hopefully this does help. And again, tune in throughout the weekend for Showdown stuff. I won't do live streams for the Showdown stuff. Maybe Saturday night if I really feel excited about, blowing some money on a Rafa Cabrera-Bello Sunday collapse. But definitely stay tuned throughout the weekend. we have a big announcement Sunday night. I keep harping on it, but it really is a big deal for us moving forward with fantasygolfbag.com. So we're excited to announce that. And, of course, we'll be back again next week for the Players' Championship. Monday for the podcast, we'll have a new co-host, part of the announcement. With this live stream, or the Wednesday night live stream Wednesday, we'll have this Thursday morning talking about ownership. So I'll let you guys go, and you can find the PGA Tour live subscription on your phone or Android, wherever it is, and go watch some golf today and have some fun with your lineups. So good luck, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you later.